Welcome to the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. We're going to explore ways to sharpen our diagnostic skills, find learning resources, and hear from experts in the automotive field. Hey, what's going on, automotive world? Welcome to another episode of the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. My name is Sean Tipping. I'll be your host once again for this week's episode. Joining me on the show this week is Chris Lawson of TechnicianFind.com. Chris is going to sit down with me and we're going to talk about linking up shops with technicians. That's what he does for a profession. He does work more with the shop side of things to help them find technicians, but he's going to fill us in, with some tips and ideas for a technician that's potentially looking for a new shop or a new position, or even within the shop that you're at, maybe some tools to give yourself some more leverage if you're looking for an increase in pay or other maybe some intangible benefits that you're looking for from your employer. So that's what we're going to chat about. It's great talk. Check the show notes for the link in case you want to pursue anything with Chris further. Maybe you're a shop owner and you'd like to hear about what he has to offer. The link will be in the show notes. But with that out of the way, let's jump in. Well, good evening, Chris. How's it going?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much, Sean, for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for taking the time to join me. I appreciate it. Yeah, we connected via email here, and this is actually my first time meeting with you, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to find out right along with everybody listening what you've got going on, and maybe that's the best place to start is let me know, the company you're involved with and what you guys do.
Sure. So the name of my company is Technician Find, and what we do is we work with independent repair shops in the aftermarket, and we work with mobile shops, we work with diesel shops, and what we do is we help them find technicians and help.
How did you get involved with that?
The way I got involved with it is I've owned a social media company since 2012, and in 2017 I was asked by a client of mine who had a mutual client to come and do a social media presentation for 10 auto repair shop owners. So I went and I did the meeting, and I taught them about social media. I ended up getting 9 of the 10 shops as clients over the next 6 months, and it completely changed the trajectory of my business. So the first thing I figured out was we got in there and started doing Facebook ads. We got in there and started doing Google ads and doing lots of things. And what I realized was that they really needed help with is finding technicians. So what we did was we did a pivot, and we applied our direct response copywriting skills to writing ads. We applied our social media marketing skills to getting those ads out there. And then we applied our internet skills, so to speak, to directly reaching out to technicians to get them connected with independent shops. Okay,
awesome. And it's specifically the independent side of auto repair that you're working with, or?
Yeah. We don't really work with dealers. They've got their own, recruiters and things that they deal with a lot of the time. And we really specialize in working with the independents because a big part of what we do is going in and having an onboarding call and asking a bunch of questions so that we can make sure that they get positioned against their competition in the local area.
Gotcha. Well, that's a good place to start too, is what are you looking for in a shop in order to work with them? I mean, is there a situation where you're just like, hey, this isn't right for us, or how does that work?
Yeah, there are situations where it's not right. More than anything else, what we do is we have a 14-step process that we go through. And the 14-step process allows us to generate a consistent flow of leads, of resumes, of applications. And the center of that whole process is what I call the triad. It starts with the ad at the top. You want a really unique ad that you start with. If you go to Indeed and you look at Indeed for all of the ads for automotive technician, they all look exactly the same. It's the same headline. It's what they want is the same. The requirements are the same. So we start with the ad. That's kind of the apex of the triangle, so to speak, in the triad. If you go down to one of the corners, then that becomes social media marketing. So if you have a good ad and then you get it in front of 20, 30, 40,000 people, something magical starts to happen. You get more response rates. You get people who show it to other people. You said, somebody's spouse may tag them and then they'll end up seeing it through somebody's spouse that saw it or their friends or their family. So that's the other, corner. The other corner of the triad is direct response. So you want to reach out directly to the technicians who may not even be looking. Because a lot of the times, if you're a good tech, you're not out there really looking for work. And a lot of times what we found is, if you're a good tech and you like what you do, or you're self-employed and, you're just chugging along, you may not have an up-to-date resume. You're probably not on Craigslist or on Indeed or on, ZipRecruiter looking for a job. So you have to do some direct outreach in order to get in front of those techs who, they may be open to an opportunity, but they're just not out there looking for the opportunity, and throwing more and more money Indeed's not going to help you if they're not looking.
Yeah, that's very true. There's a lot of technicians that listen to this podcast, and I would say it's primarily technician based, and yeah, they're all working right now. And of course, various people looking for different opportunities, but you're right. They're in it. They've got a job they're going to every day. They're not necessarily out there seeking these positions out. So you would have to get creative to get their attention. What about a ad or a good ad attracts or catches the attention of a technician that you found?
Well, I approach this from kind of a different perspective. I think a lot of the time when someone is working with a shop or shop owner or a manager, they're thinking from the shop owner's perspective, and they're thinking from the manager's perspective, and you can tell when you read the ads. I started completely opposite. What I did is I said, I ended up serving on the board of directors for this 20 group. I'm still on the board of directors for this 20 group, and I said, what I want to do is I want to interview your top techs. So I went to each group, each shop, and I said, hey, could you set me up with 3 of your top techs or 2 of your top techs for smaller shops? And I said, I'd just like to talk to them for 7 minutes. I just want to ask them some questions. I want to say, and I did. I got on there. I had 7 questions, and I asked them questions like, what pisses you off about a shop? What do you hate? What do you like? What do you like about your job? What do you see happening in the industry? Is there anything that scares you in the industry? And then I asked specifically about the ads. I said, what is it about an ad that turns you on, turns you off? What do you want to see? And I got a lot of really good feedback. And whenever I write an ad, I write the ads for the technician, because if you can match up what a shop has to offer with what a technician wants, then I think everybody wins. And that's really why I like working with independent shops, because it seems a lot of the time they're able to offer an environment that's a little bit more family friendly, so to speak. The technicians have direct access to the decision makers. They feel heard. They feel like they're part of the family, and sure. I think that's really important all the way around.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced that myself, working in the independent field as opposed to a dealership setting. And it's not to say that a dealership setting, I've always said there's a right place for everybody, right? There's guys who fit perfectly in that spot at the dealership, and then vice versa for the independent. But you definitely, you're a tight group in an independent shop, because everybody, maybe the owner's there every day with you. And that definitely is right for certain people. Going back to what you had said about questioning technicians on, what do they like about a shop? What makes them upset about a shop or management? Can we dig deeper into that? I'm curious to know what you found when you spoke with them.
Sure. I think there were several things that really came up. The biggest one was not being respected. That came up over and over again is when someone isn't respected, it makes it a drag to come into work every day. So that was a big one. Money's always there. Money's always part of it. And, a lot of the times, some of the independent shops can't offer what some of the bigger dealers offer. Their sign-on bonuses, they can't offer the same types of sign-on bonuses. And quite frankly, the benefits packages aren't the same either. So, that's one of the things that's always a consideration. Another one was they didn't like the management. So there were different problems with management. So you'd have a service advisor that was feeding gravy work to certain pet techs, playing favorites. That was a problem. Being treated like a number. That was always a big problem. Being treated like a widget inside of a big machine and, having to be on call and working nights and weekends and not really having any type of a life. That was another big one. Sure. And, a lot of these, not really having an opportunity for advancement. And that was another big one as well. So it's a lot of the typical things that you would expect. But what for me what really stood out was a lot of the things that were most important didn't really revolve around money. And it's like, hey, if you can get me in the ballpark, I'd rather be part of an organization where we're not being shady. And I heard that over and over again is, you know what, I just got sick of this company asking me to do shady things. And that's why, I even had one shop owner, he says, I used to be a tech and I was a tech. I was doing fine. I loved it. I was tech for, 15 years. And then all of a sudden the shop owner started having me do all of these shady things. And he said, I just don't want to do that. He ended up going and starting his own business because he just got sick of doing all these shady things that his shop owner was asking him to do. Yeah.
That's definitely something. If your moral compass is being questioned all the time, it's not someplace you can stay forever. But I found that's interesting as time's gone on, and I've gotten to know more and more people throughout this industry and experience it myself. Money is important, and that's why we're there, is to make a living. But that surprisingly, a lot of the decisions that people make career-wise and shop-wise and what direction they're going, like you mentioned, don't happen to be centered around money. It's, okay, can I get a livable wage? Can I do the things that I want to do after work, recreational stuff, toys, whatever. And then as long as I'm kind of there, the other stuff is really going to guide the decision on where I want to go to work. Day after day. I found that for sure when I was a full-time technician in a shop. So I wonder if that is clear to as many, shop owners as maybe it should be, right? That, hey, there's other stuff that maybe intangibles, maybe in some ways they are tangible, but
I think that's a great question. And I wish I could tell you that more of them have thought through the process. Part of what we do, a big part of what we do, is that initial onboarding call. And I ask dozens and dozens of questions because, we all know that it only makes sense if it's a good fit for everyone. And what I always tell, either shop owners or managers when I'm talking to them is I say, hey, you know what? I really like working with shops that are interested in providing a good place inside and outside of the shop. I want, and this comes through. It comes through in the ad because if you're a shop that says, hey, we want your life to work inside and outside of the shop, then the whole way that it's managed is different. The way that you have holidays is different. The way that you have a no weekends policy is different. All of these things are different and it's all important. And you can try, right away, all you need to do is go on somebody's Facebook page and scroll through a business's posts, and you can tell if they care about their employees or not. You know, you can tell really quickly. You can tell if they have barbecues and they go bowling and they do all this fun stuff. They go camping, and you know, if they're celebrating birthdays and they're doing all these types of things. And if they aren't, that says something else too. So, you know, that may be a big part of the problem, and that all comes out when you're going through this thought process. But what I always like to do, and it's interesting because a lot of the times what will happen is once we go through this process, when they say no a bunch of times, they'll start looking at me and saying, should we be offering that? And I said, yeah, you should. You know, you really should be offering that. And yeah, you really should have AC in your, you know, in your shop that's in Phoenix. Yeah, you really should, you know. So it's that kind of thing. But, you know, I think when you're when you own a business, and the funniest part about this for me is most of my clients started as techs, you know, and they work their way up. And it's just funny how there's a shift in mindset when you own the business and you kind of forget where you came from, and then things shift. Now, it's not all, you know, not all of them, but sometimes you have to bring it back to, hey, remember when you were in that position? Let's switch this around a little bit. Let's make this a little bit more, you know, let's have a little bit more give and take. Yeah.
It's funny you say that. I think it's very common in this industry, especially on the independent side, for a former technician to be running a shop because they got fed up with wherever they were at and they decided, well, I could do this better for, you know, myself. And in some cases they definitely do. But yeah, they're not coming into it with a business background per se. You're just a technician. You're very good at fixing cars, and now you just want to do it for yourself. Yes. And it takes some time to understand the business side of things. I'm actually in that transition myself of becoming a business owner, but I'm still doing the technician work, but I am trying to figure out the business side of things. And it does change your mindset on your perspective, I should say, on certain aspects of how the daily work flows and what things cost and what people are making and all that stuff. And so, yeah, give it a certain amount of time, and then all of a sudden you've become the term that I've seen out there that people
one of them
evil shop owner. Yeah.
That's right, one of them. Yeah, you know, some of the most successful shop owners, and I mean, one of my clients, I was just talking to him today, and he's just a great guy. I've been at conferences with him when he takes his staff to the conference. I see how he interacts with them. I mean, his staff would follow him into battle. I mean, he really does a good job. And what he does is everything is transparent. He says, these are the numbers, folks. He tells them what he makes. He says, hey, look, this is the pie. This is how much I get of the pie. This is what goes to, you know, vendors. This is what goes over here and rent and everything else. And he gets a lot of support because it's all transparent and everybody understands they're working together. They're rowing the boat together in the same direction. And, you know, as you were talking, it reminded me of E-Myth. And E-Myth Revisited with Michael Gerber. And, you know, that's the thing. It's like we all, you know, I did it myself, you know, you're a technician that has an entrepreneurial seizure. So, you know, and a technician can be, you know, an automotive technician, and technician can be an accountant. You know, a technician can be someone who does something really well, and then they decide that they can also do the business well. And, I mean, you nailed it. It's different skills, and it is a different mindset. It really is.
I read that book this summer. I listened to it, an audio book, and
classic.
I was like, are they talking about me here? You know, when it was the technician, and it's a baker in the book, but really no different. A person with a set of skills, and she makes the business. She is the business, right?
Yes.
Her skill set in her mind, what I do, nobody can copy this, and I have to be the person doing all the work, but then also managing the business side of things. And of course, that's the whole point of the book, is if you want a business to be successful and you don't want your life to be completely consumed, you've got to be able to let go, some of it go. You've got to be able to develop a system that can be replicated. And it's a great book. I recommend anybody that's, getting into a business role to read it for sure.
Absolutely. And another really good one, I don't know if you read this one, Sean, is Business Made Simple by Donald Miller.
Okay. No, I haven't.
It's a phenomenal book. He walks you through 60 different days, 60 different lessons, and it's every different aspect of your business and how to make every single aspect of your business better. So by the time you get through the 60 days, you've gone through all the different areas of your business and you've made all of them stronger. So I highly recommend it. He's also got an online component of that. And when you get the book, you can engage in the online, and he has videos for all the 60 days. Best part about it is for busy business owners like us, it only takes you about 5 minutes to go through one of the daily lessons, and the videos are 5-7 minutes tops. So you can get through that daily lesson, apply it, and get on with the rest of your day.
Nice. Oh, that's cool. I'll definitely check that out. Thank you.
Yep.
Now, how about on the technician side of things? I mean, obviously techs are in high demand right now. So
absolutely,
it's relatively easy to find work if you're looking for it.
Yep.
And you can kind of get to pick and choose. Now, I know it depends on your area and your skill set, but a top tech can kind of pick and choose what they want to do, and places will essentially roll out the red carpet for somebody who really knows what they're doing. Mm-hmm. But for your average technician, what sort of things can they do if they're, looking to change things up or looking for work to get the best opportunity, the best situation, maybe the best income? What are some things a tech could do on the other side of the table here?
That's a great question. The number one thing I would say is you want to go somewhere where you can get training. You want to get your training. You want someone who understands that a well-trained tech is valuable, and you want to. I mean, in the final analysis, we are our own business. And Brian Tracy talks about this a lot. He says, "And you're you Inc." So whether you own a business or whether you work inside of somebody else's business, you are the product. And if you have more education, you have more training, you have more experience, you're going to be worth more in the market. So, I think the smartest shops, and particularly the smartest business owners and shop owners that I know, they understand this. They pay money for training. And it's not this, cheesy, you can go to training, but, you got to take a day off and all this kind of stuff. It's, hey, look, we're going to pay you to go to training. It's during work hours, so you're not going to miss time with your family. They get it. They understand. They pay for your certifications. If you want your ASE certifications, they'll pay for your certifications. They'll pay for whatever it takes to get you to be a better individual. And I don't see any slowing down of the industry. You're in a great position, and the need is just going to continue to increase. And it's just a great place to be if you continue to get better and you continue to learn and train.
Yeah. Investing in yourself, you can't
Always
lose. It's
always.
It's so important. And then, finding a place that will assist you in that. You got to put in the effort, right? Maybe your investment is just time if you find the right place, but finding a shop that'll cover the cash in order to do that, or do it on maybe, during work hours, or send you to these events. That's huge. And that would definitely be a question of mine if I was looking at a shop, is do you offer training? What are you paying for? How many hours a year of training would you expect me to have? Those are the sort of things that I would 100% want to know.
Absolutely.
It builds you up, right? Like you say, you're a business. We're almost independent contractors as technicians, especially if we're on a flat rate pay scale. And you have to think of it that way. And
absolutely, just
doing the daily grind over and over and over again. Yeah, you're going to learn some stuff, but man, actually seeking out some education, that's where the magic happens, I think.
Absolutely. And things like shops that offer tool allowances, there's, I can't even think of another industry or another profession where your tools are so expensive. and
Right.
a lot of your early years are, accumulating these really expensive tools. So, is a shop willing to help you with that? Are they willing to help you in other areas? We talk a lot about relocation. So one of the things that we do a lot of is, if you go on Indeed, it's pretty interesting, and you want to check this out if you haven't looked recently. You can go into their analytics and you can look at how competitive the automotive technician jobs are in a 25-mile radius of your city. And so you can see on a scale of 1 to 100 how competitive they are. You can see how many job ads currently have the word automotive technician in the ad in your area.
Okay.
You can see who the top advertisers are. You can see how many resumes there are, so how many people are out there on Indeed that have resumes that have automotive technician in the resume title. All different. You can see average salaries, high end of the salaries, low end of the salaries in your 25-mile radius. It's just a wealth of information. And when you go out there and you take a look at this, one, it'll give you a lot of confidence, when you go in.
Sure.
And, I have a lot of conversations, and, somebody will tell me, I'll say, well, what's the salary range you want to offer? And they'll tell me, and I'll say, let me show you what a technician is going to be looking at. They're going to be looking at your competition on Indeed, and this is the range on Indeed. So, if you're looking for, a solid B Tech, you got to come up a little bit on that, because that's not going to get you that. So it's a good way to, have some bargaining power, and it's also a good way to just find out what's going on in your area and stay up to date.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal tool for somebody who, whether you're looking or just considering it. I don't think there's anything wrong with at least knowing what else is out there, right? And even if you don't leave your current employment, you can say, hey, here's what's out there. Let's have a discussion about the future here. I think that would be, I'm going to go check that out. I'm just curious to know what it is around here, after we're done talking, and see what it is currently, because I was a full-time technician, since I graduated high school up until 2017. And I transferred into teaching and doing some programming work after that. But it's been a few years, and just talking with the guys in the shops lately, the salaries have gone up significantly in the last 5 to 6 years, I would say. Which it's great news, right? This is it's not easy work by any stretch of the imagination.
No, it's not. And I'm sure you're aware of, general inflation overall. General inflation affects all of us. And, a lot of these calls that I'm on with shops, is they talk about, hey, look, if you're not raising your prices in line with inflation, you're going underwater, because people need to be paid more. Parts are more expensive. Everything is going up. So, you need to make these adjustments, and as employees do the same way. It's, within reason, you want to make sure that you are at least keeping pace with inflation, and, making sure that you have, you're leading a good life with the income that you're making.
Yeah. But like you say, it ain't slowing down anytime soon, and these cars aren't getting any less complicated, but that's some of the stuff we tackle on the podcast here, is ways to stay up on the technical side of things and get through all the interesting problems that cars have nowadays. So
it's unbelievable. I just heard a statistic. Someone was talking about all of the computer systems that are inside of cars today, and they said the average car today has more computer technology than the rocket that landed on the moon.
Yeah.
It's interesting just to think about that. It boggles my mind.
Yeah, it's nuts when you really dive deep into everything that's going on as this thing's rolling down the road 80 miles an hour. And now, some of them somewhat driving themselves at that point too. It's even more impressive what they're able to do. But of course, it's such a harsh atmosphere for technology to live in a car. If you're in your house, technology, electrical in your house, like it just doesn't have the same issues as going out and driving it in the salt and the sand and the rain and the bumps. And it just,
that's a great point. I never thought about that.
It's got so much to hold up against. And, some cars do better than the others, the engineering that goes into it. But yeah, anyways, all this stuff's going to keep breaking. So we need guys that know how to work on it. So, so if a technician were interested in something like this, just do they reach out to you? Do they get on with you and then you can help them find a shop, or do you work solely with the shops?
We do work primarily with the shops. We do get people that reach out to us because we work with so many different shops. Every now and again, we'll get a technician that says, "Hey, look, I'm moving over to this city. Do you have any good shops that you can connect me with?" And we're happy to do that. Typically, the service, though, is we work directly with the shops. But that being said, if anyone would like to reach out, we have a lot of, for example, we ran a campaign for one really well-run shop that we work with up in Washington State, and we ran a campaign down in Phoenix. And it was a relocation campaign because, we all know how hot Phoenix is. It's just ridiculous. And no offense to anybody that lives in Phoenix. It's a beautiful city. It's a beautiful city. It's just so darn hot. But we ran a little campaign down there to get people that, wanted to do a little bit more fishing and mountain sports and skiing and that kind of stuff. So from that, we got a lot of responses from technicians that said, "Hey, I'm interested. I'm ready to make a move and come up there." And, this particular shop was willing to offer a relocation package, and it worked out. So that's another thing that we can help connect you with as well. Hey,
all right.
I just want to be helpful. So any way that we can be helpful, I love matching up good techs with good companies. I really love doing that because you spend your whole life working, right?
Yeah.
You just don't want to be miserable. You absolutely don't have to be, and you don't have to be miserable.
Exactly. Yeah. They say you spend, more time with the people at work than you do your own family a lot of the time. So
absolutely.
You should at least not hate it at the very least.
Absolutely. Or feel like you're on the same side, not feel like you're this adversarial, you got to watch your back when you walk in the door. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, run an ad here in the Twin Cities, Minnesota, about February. Put on some beaches and palm trees and stuff. You might get that same reaction as the Arizona thing. Yeah, it's when it's 20 below here.
Right. That's what gets you thinking about it. Yeah. It's there's a lot of areas, and you're in such a great position because I had a buddy when a few years ago. We still talk a lot, but my buddy, when he was young, he was a bartender, and he went all over the world, and he never worried about it. He went, for like 10 years. All he did was he traveled around, and he could always get a job because you can always get a job as a bartender. So it's kind of, this is like the best of both worlds because, you're not a bartender. You've got a much higher skill occupation that is needed everywhere. And It's such a great opportunity because you can just, basically go to Google automotive technician in whatever city you want to be in, and boom, some things pop up and you've got opportunities.
Yeah, definitely. I'm technician biased, right? I'm on the tech side of things because I was one, and I have been really happy in the last few years to see the opportunity that's been available to guys, some of which have just been grinding for even decades. But some of the new technicians, coming up, that they've really got some opportunity. It's cool. I remember when I was just going into tech school, I was working at a gas station as just a clerk, checking people out. And I was telling some older gentleman about, I was going to tech school and to learn how to fix cars, right? He's like, "Oh yeah, you don't want to do that. You don't want to sign up for that. You're never going to beat the book. You're against the clock all the time. You're never going to make any money." Right. And there's always people that are just going to be Debbie Downers in life. But I can honestly say, hey, I'm glad I didn't listen to that guy, because it ended up that this is a great industry to be in. Yeah, it sucks sometimes. It's not all rainbows and sunshine by any means, but I can say I feel very just blessed to have, the career that I've had so far in the automotive industry. It's been great to me. I have no complaints. So it's good to see that for other people.
Yeah, it's outstanding. And you know what? I don't, whenever I hear that, whenever I tell people what I do and I hear something like that, because there's a huge misconception, and I think it's a marketing problem. I think that the industry needs to market better. I think that this needs to be available in schools. There is nothing wrong with the industry at all. And I know techs that make $4,000 a week, and that's one of the things that, if you get good at your craft and you're one of the best, then, you can write your own ticket. It's not going to be about money. It's going to be about what you are good at and what you like to do. I think of that story that, Earl Nightingale used to tell, and he says, you know what, most people are standing in front of the stove saying, give me heat and then I'll put the wood in, and it doesn't work that way. It's like, you gotta put the wood in and then you get heat. So, the way that you put the wood in is you get training. You get good at what you're doing. You just develop your skills.
I totally agree. Definitely. Well, cool, Chris. Thanks for joining me. Do you got anything else that you want to mention? Maybe how shops can find you? You got a website or anything like that?
Yeah, I have a website. It's technicianfind.com. If you are, if you're interested in making a move and you want to talk a little bit about some decent shops in an area that you're looking for, hey, I'm happy to help you out with that. If you just want to, I don't know why you would want to, but if you just want to riff for a little bit and chat, and maybe you've got an offer and you want to talk about that, and, you want to get a perspective from the owner's perspective, I can maybe guide you through that as well. Hey, however I can be helpful, I operate by the same, principles that I've been talking about. When I first started working with the automotive industry, I knew nothing about it. I had to go in. I had to be a quick study. I had to really start, I had to listen to a ton of podcasts. I had to talk to everybody that I could talk to. I went to conferences. I really wanted to figure out how I could add value. And that's how this whole company and this whole business came about, is because I just kept looking. What's a frustration for my clients? What problem can I solve? How can I add value? And that's what guided me all the way through this process. So if I can be that for anybody else, I'm happy to do that. And then you can send me an email, chris@technicianfind.com. I respond to all my emails and happy to help out. Awesome.
Yeah, I'll put links to both those in the show notes so people can click on them, make it easy. And I appreciate you taking the time this evening.
Hey, the pleasure's been mine, Sean. Thank you so much for allowing me to serve your listeners.
All right. That's going to do it for this week's episode. Big thank you to Chris for spending some time with me. Enjoyed talking with him. Hopefully you did as well. Remember to check the show notes for the link if you'd like to pursue anything further with Chris. Other than that, hope everyone had a great Christmas. New Year's coming up, and then we're on to 2023 already. You can't believe that. That's crazy. Also like to thank everybody out there for listening and the feedback about the show. I appreciate it. Keep it up. I'll get back to everybody as soon as I am able. But with that all out of the way, let's get out there, start fixing the world one car at a time.